Ladies and gentlemen, there are two major topics we need to discuss in this video. One of them is Bitcoin related, showing that Bitcoin is on a critical support zone right now, not only on the price chart where we have a descending wedge formation, but also descending wedge formation stemming backwards over a year and a half on the weekly chart RSI. We're also coming downwards at this point and testing a major indicator such as the bull market support band and threatening to drop below the 50-week simple moving average. That would be enough for one video in entirety. But I also want to discuss briefly the altcoin market. I posted a poll on this YouTube channel a couple of days ago. Will the altcoin market ever see a true 2017 or 2021 style euphoria ever again, an actual altcoin season? And actually, most of you think it won't. That's a very interesting poll result. I think I'll probably put a few minutes of discussion into that, not show too many charts, but I have a very concise opinion on that matter, which I'll discuss in the end of the video. So start with Bitcoin, we'll end off with altcoins. Ladies and gentlemen, let's get into it. Before we do so, go ahead and check out the Bitunix Exchange. I post these videos for free. I've posted 1,300 of them for free, and that's only made possible via me talking about exchanges. I don't just talk about any exchange. I don't have a contract. I don't work for Bitunix. I chose to discuss Bitunix because I use it personally for trading on a daily basis, pretty much. It's my major exchange at this point. It's my main exchange. And the reason I choose it is because it's global, non-KYC. We can get around a lot of regulations on regions that aren't available on many major exchanges. And the second reason, the most important reason, is it's never been hacked before. Not a single security breach in close to 5 years of data in trading on this exchange. So very good stuff from Bitunix. Use my link down below to sign up if you're interested. Get a 15% lifetime trading fee discount exclusively with that link down below. It helps out the channel a lot, and it helps out you by getting on a great exchange. So use that link to sign up. It takes 30 seconds. Appreciate it, guys. Let's get into it. Ladies and gentlemen, I believe it's common knowledge at this point that Bitcoin is at a major threat, if not from an intense understanding of cycles, at least from the fact that we've moved down quite significantly from the highs. You should be able to see, even without knowing anything about the cycle, that a drop from the highs of 126,000 all the way down to 96,000, a 24% drop, 25% drop almost, is significant. That's a significant correction, especially in this market environment. Bitcoin hasn't been as volatile as previous cycles. A 25% drop cannot be ignored, especially when that drop is happening in combination with momentum indicators like the 2-week chart RSI breaking down as well. We have a triangle on the 2-week chart RSI. It's been in place since mid-2023. We know that this chart is important. Look at this line I'm drawing right now. It's marked all the major highs in Bitcoin's price history. We know this chart means something. We know it's valid, and we know that momentum breakdown is not a good sign. Very unlikely that that is a fake out at this point. We've seen the 2-week candle close. We've seen the weekly candle close. That's a very bad sign, especially in combination with the cyclical date range trends, which pointed to a top in October 2025. We've discussed that so many times, but even without looking at that chart once again, we can simply just look at this yellow line on the screen here, which goes back to 2017. Clear resistance, never broken before, rejected from it on 3 occasions in a matter of 2 or 3 months. And we've dropped down since then, 25%. This is a major correction, and it could very well be an actual bear market. That's why I'm taking a position of caution on the market. I've been very cautious over the last month since we saw that rejection from 126,000. Very quickly, I flipped into a position of caution, quickly enough that a lot of people actually judged me for it. But I think that caution is justified, at least until further notice. And at this point, every day I look at the chart, it seems to look a little bit worse. At this point, Bitcoin is really clambering to the edge of a cliff. Let's just undo a lot of this stuff here and bring it back to what I was discussing before, which was the weekly chart RSI, clearly on support right now as we speak. Let's go back to the weekly chart. We'll get this in here. There's the support zone. There's the descending wedge formation. We've seen the momentum breakdown on the 2-week chart. Now the weekly chart is threatening to have it as well. The good news is there is support here. The good news is at $96,000, at $97,000, somewhere in that price region, we have momentum support, at least on a local level. And we also have, if we zoom in here, a descending wedge formation, which you can see in yellow, that is being tested to the downside right now with positive signs. Okay, we see a short-term bullish divergence. We could very well see a swing to the top of this wedge. 108,000 is very well on the table. And if we break that wedge to the upside, awesome. Then we can start looking higher. But even then, of course, the cyclical backdrop of this price action cannot be ignored, right? We're still in a position of caution, basically until we break all-time highs again, due to the scale and the velocity of the cycle and what it implicates. So Bitcoin, I still advocate for a position of caution. We've still got these momentum breakdowns. Yes, we are on pretty significant support here. I'm not someone who's going to be saying we should short right now due to the support we currently have. I think that support probably stems down all the way to $94,000. I think if we break the support zone, we're going down further, of course. 89,000, 74,000, these are on the table. But at this point, yeah, I'm probably leaning a little bit more bullish on the short term. My long-term position is still one of major caution due to the cyclical context and also the momentum breakdowns and also the context of simple rejections from major resistance, as I mentioned, the line from 2017. So still advocating for a position of caution on Bitcoin. Yeah, look, the next few days could look quite good. We could see a bounce in the next few days. That could even extend, and that could even possibly ignite a flame of hope for macro. But at this point, that hasn't even happened yet. So let's just wait and see what happens there. That's my overall take on Bitcoin. And now we can get, and really not much changing there. I suppose the one change is we've moved further down. We are threatening now at this point to drop below another important indicator, which is the Gaussian channel on the weekly chart. That center line on the Gaussian channel has been one of the most important indicators in Bitcoin's entire price history. Moving through the center line on the Gaussian channel almost always leads to bear markets, actually always, 100% accurate, leads to a bear market if we move through it to the downside and a bull market if we move through it to the upside. So that level currently sits, let's go ahead and check where it sits. It currently sits at about 91,000. That's the center line. So of course, that's kind of our lifeline on Bitcoin that we're clambering onto. At this point though, just because we're holding it still doesn't mean we're in a great position. This correction is concerning. It's a threat. It's a threat from a cyclical perspective, momentum perspective, and a price chart perspective. Yes, we have short-term strength potentially developing here, but we need to wait and see whether that actually means anything or whether it will just be another dead cat bounce like we saw at the end of the 2021 bull market. So I think I've made my position quite clear on Bitcoin there. And I think it's a nuanced position. I don't think it's outright bearish. Certainly not outright bullish. I think it's nuanced. The charts are always nuanced, and that's something that a lot of amateurs in the market don't understand and will have to come to understand if they want to be profitable. Let's move into the altcoin market. Right, so again, I posted that community poll, will the altcoin market ever see a true altcoin season again? The reason I posted that is because we haven't seen a true altcoin season in this cycle. In fact, the total 3, the altcoin market cap chart, a chart that measures the entire market cap of the altcoin market, hasn't even broken all-time highs in this cycle. Let alone did we see any sort of proper outperformance of Bitcoin. We look at the BTC dominance chart, the Bitcoin dominance chart, for example, and we see only a very small drop on Bitcoin dominance, still basically in a macro upwards trend with higher lows at least. Yeah, look, we might have broken the higher high part, but we've still got the higher lows of the macro upwards trend. You can pretty much draw, almost, not quite, but you can pretty much draw a basic support line there. No altcoin season has occurred. This isn't a surprise. We don't even need to look at charts to understand this. Everyone knows that no proper altcoin season has occurred. Yes, certain altcoins have done well against Bitcoin, but the overwhelming majority have gotten destroyed against Bitcoin. This is due to multiple factors. In my view, one of them is market dilution. There's over 40,000 altcoins being created per day. I think in 2017, there was only like 1,000 altcoins in total. Okay, so market dilution is a very real thing on the altcoin market. That's probably a minor reason. There's many counter arguments to that, but the main reason, in my view, is because Bitcoin has not behaved in a manner that is conducive with altcoin performance. Simple fact, okay? Altcoins only move when Bitcoin moves first, and when Bitcoin moves convincingly, and when Bitcoin moves in a way that breeds hype, that conjures hype in the altcoin market. That's the only way that altcoins move. That's what we've seen historically. 2017, for example, we went straight upwards. 2021, we went straight upwards. Yeah, there was a big drop in the middle, and then we went straight upwards again, right? And actually in the second half of the 2021 bull market, after that big drop in the middle that kind of killed the hype, altcoins didn't do too well, okay? If you look at Bitcoin dominance, for example, it just went sideways during that period pretty much. This time, we never saw the pure Bitcoin euphoria that we saw in 2017 or the first half of 2021. What we saw instead was these long, drawn-out corrections after short, sharp, aggressive moves. And during these long 7-month corrections, 8-month corrections, all of the potential hype that would have been brewing in the altcoin market got completely splattered out, stamped out, just like that. Hype is the name of the game for the altcoin markets, and there was simply no hype in this market environment. Now, do I think we will see an altcoin season again in the future? I actually probably do. And the reason I do is because, okay, yes, we didn't see it this cycle. Okay, yes, the market is maturing. But what we understand about Bitcoin is this. At this point, the status quo is the cycle. At this point, altcoin performance is directly correlated to what Bitcoin does. And at this point, even within the cycle, we have seen massive disparities in how Bitcoin behaves. 2017 was straight up. 2021 was straight up with a huge correction in the middle. And this time was these kind of stepping stone layered moves with long corrections in between. All of this happened, all of these differences in structures, major differences in structures, major differences in altcoin seasons, even between 2021 and 2017, let alone this cycle, all happened within the same cycle. The norm for Bitcoin is that it moves differently every time. That is the norm. And for us to say, just because we haven't seen an altcoin season this time, that we will never see one again, is ridiculous. Of course, that's not true. That's not a trend. That's not backed by mathematics. That is more speculative than saying otherwise. Now, what I will say is this. Yes, the fact is the market is maturing, and due to the fact the market is maturing, it's unlikely that we see Bitcoin move in such a radical way like we saw in 2017 before, and therefore it's unlikely we see this massive 2017 altcoin style season again. What we can see, however, is micro altcoin seasons, altcoins performing very well for short periods of time and very aggressively in those short periods of time. And that's all we really need, by the way, because even in 2017, the majority of these altcoin moves, as measured by Bitcoin dominance, happened within these 1 or 2 month periods. Especially in 2021, that was the case. It was like 5 weeks was the major part of the altcoin season, and then it was just sideways with altcoins matching Bitcoin's performance. So you don't need much time, and I don't think we will be granted that much time in the future. I think the idea of a 2017 style altcoin season is probably dead, but altcoin seasons by definition are just periods of time in which altcoins outperform Bitcoin on a macro scale. That is not a dead concept. There's no reason to think that is a dead concept in my view. It's changed probably, and if the cycle breaks, it would be completely very, very difficult to understand what would happen to altcoins. But right now the cycle is still intact. And the cycle does not suggest that altcoins are dead forever by any means. They suggest that the altcoin market is changing, and that's always been the case. That is the case this cycle, and that will probably be the case next cycle as well. Really hope you enjoyed today's video, guys, and got something out of it. That's what I aim every video. I try to bring you something new. Obviously, sometimes the market hasn't changed too much, but I try my best to at least add something new in the videos. I think I did that today. If you found it interesting, you found it engaging or useful, go ahead and leave a like below and subscribe, and also check out the Bitunix Exchange. It's kind of unrelated to whether you like the video or not. It's just a good exchange. You also get a 15% trading fee discount for life permanently with my referral link down below. So support the channel, use that link to sign up, get access to a global exchange, get access to an exchange that's never been hacked before. Use that link down below, helps the channel a lot. I appreciate it, guys, and I'll catch you soon.